Hi everyone, it's Grace Kelmer back with another episode of Mendel Center Connections. I am here this week with my colleague Xavier Verna, and he is from the Ramsdell Regional Center in Manistee, Michigan. But he also has a couple other titles that are really interesting that are looking more statewide, and that's actually how I know him, is through one of those organizations called Michigan Nonprofit Presenters Network. So Xavier, welcome. I'm so happy to talk to you today about the state of arts in our state and the work that you're doing, on a personal and organizational level, and also hopefully get into a little bit of what people can do to make sure that their venues are still there on the other end of COVID. So welcome.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Grace. Good to be with you in this space. I know a lot of us have really gotten used to this kind of dialogue. So we're getting very good at this. As an upside, I guess. Like Grace said, I'm with the Ramsdell Theater in Manistee and the executive director here. Been here for about 3.5 years. So, it was looking to be a great year, like, probably most of you. And unfortunately, all that just had to come to a stop. And we navigated the shutdown period for as long as we needed to. Fortunately for us in our region, we were able to open at a limited capacity. And so while we were working on virtual experiences for our audiences, we immediately switched over to as much as we could do with a in-person audience. And that was very important to me because I really felt that we had to get people in the building as much as we want to be safe, practice social distancing and all that. We encourage anybody who's sick or who, isn't comfortable to just, stay at home and don't come. But if you can, if you're brave and you want to come check out a show, then do that. Around here, a lot of businesses are still operating and they're open at limited capacities. Everybody's requiring masks. And it's encouraging because it definitely helps us, try and weather this storm for a little bit longer. Even places like the casino are open. So to me, it's like, grocery store, casino, yeah, it's way safer to be in the theater where the point of contact is going to be, very, very minimal. So a couple other roles Grace mentioned too, with Michigan Presenters, I serve as president of that organization. We are actively promoting and creating dialogue with our membership and providing professional development to those members. We organize 4 meetings a year. We had our annual conference virtually this past June, where we were supposed to be in Kalamazoo. So we totally wish we could have been there, but the virtual conference went very well. We had the record attendance for any conference that Michigan Presenters has had. So we were, very happy about that. Lots of engagement online. We did a few webinars with a few key individuals leading up to the conference. And what we're doing now is we're just positioning ourselves to be a good soundboard for our members, a really strong peer group for any of our members, and even, folks outside who are part of other consortiums have reached out to us for input and involved us in some of their activities. And so it's been, really good to be, helpful, as helpful as we can be to our members.
I think it's even gotten stronger during this time. I think so too, yeah. The other Michigan Presenters Network members more than I usually do right now, because this is also new. Yeah. We're all learning from each other on a daily basis, and checking out each other's websites, see what's going on. And I know we're both doing some drive-in concerts in addition to other things. So just bouncing those ideas off of each other And even between states too, like they're every other week. The people like us who are on the leadership of each state, we get together and we talk about what's going on across the country too, which is not, we usually would only meet once a year, but now we're meeting every other week. What's happening, you know, around the country. So that's leaning on each other has been really helpful.
Meeting more, and, you know, attendance is better overall, you know, so I definitely see, you know, Zoom meetings and, you know, any other virtual setting where we can exchange ideas continuing to happen even post-COVID. I think we're learning how useful this can be even in a normal setting. And I think that Michigan Presenters has done a great job at, you know, promoting that exchange of ideas, and our Google groups, you know, just being able to send an email to the entire membership. I mean, we found ways to make conversation easier among the members, and, you know, that's one of the things I'm most proud of doing. And you know, with that too, I would say, you know, we're planning to still meet virtually for the rest of the year. You know, this is going to be an interesting year because it's an election year for Michigan Presenters, and we're getting in new board members that I'm sure are kind of scratching their heads and wondering, okay, where do we go from here? But honestly, I think it's just continuing this dialogue, continuing to strengthen that connection between one another, because you're right. All of us are all of a sudden at the same level playing field, you know, whereas before we were, you know, oh, this is a bigger venue and this is a smaller venue, and, you know, we're not going to route this show through to the smaller venue because, and now it's like, yeah, we're closed, we're shut down, we can have about the same capacity in our venue, so let's figure out ways that you know, work for promotion and for getting people in the door and for keeping everybody safe. I think that's been kind of a upside to it, and you're very right about that. I think it bonds us together more.
Mm-hmm. And tell me a little bit about your work with MCACA, and for people who don't know, that's the Michigan Council for Arts and Cultural Affairs, because you're on the board of that organization as well, right?
Serving as a council member there, been there for about a year now. It's a terrific group to work with. The council, the staff at MCACA are top notch, really supportive of, you know, everybody and anything arts related in Michigan, arts and culture. And it's really an honor to be a part of that group. I know that the council very early on looked for ways that they could immediately provide, you know, relief funds to the different groups in the state. You know, for anybody who had spent all of their allocated dollars from the previous year's grant, they could submit reports right now so that they could get that final payment. You know, they collaborated with Arts Midwest, which is our, you know, sister kind of grant funder for the Midwest. And, you know, they really have done a lot. And at the same time, still sticking with the timeline for their regular grant cycles for operational, arts education, and capital and all that. Obviously, they're at the, you know, their hands are tied until they know what kind of state budget we're looking at. But I think their efforts are appreciated. And, you know, at this point, what I will say too is Arts Midwest, you know, really came through with opportunities, Michigan Humanities Council as well. So several of the, you know, normal places that we go and seek grants from, like, have really stepped up to provide a lot of support for not just venues, but, you know, any arts and cultural organizations.
Yeah, and those grants have really specifically helped the independent organizations that aren't connected to either larger entities or municipalities. Those independent, some of the smaller venues are really being able to take good advantage of some of those grant opportunities, which is good.
Yeah. And beyond that,
like this could be an extinction level event for venues. Like up to 90% of independent venues could close as a result of this, depending on how long it goes on, which is horrifying and scary. Like we already know that Broadway's closed until 2021, and Cirque du Soleil filed for bankruptcy, and a lot of those kind of tentpole arts and culture providers are going through a really rough time. So any of that support, both like from a state and organizational funding opportunity, is really crucial. Yeah. There's also things that people can do as well to support.
Yeah, there's a lot of advocacy out there, a lot of people organizing and linking arms to go to our state legislators or even, in DC and tell them about the issues that we're having so that, we could be included in, any kind of future stimulus packages or just, any kind of relief funding that can be available. And I would encourage anybody who, is a strong advocate and really is into that type of thing to get involved with the Cultural Advocacy Network, which is another aspect of what I do through Michigan Presenters. I'm serving on the board of the Cultural Advocacy Network, which is a new advocacy organization in Michigan. And right now, we're talking with state legislators and just telling them about every type of cultural organization possible, and what our challenges are and what kinds of support we need from them so that they can advocate for us. I mean, now is the time because all the budget numbers are being put together. On a bigger scale, we've seen groups like the Save Our Stages as part of the National Independent Venue Association, come together and get as many people to sign up, to be a part of the effort to communicate to DC about the needs. And like what you just said, some of those smaller venues that are really at a critical point at this point, even in New York, I was just reading that there was some law that all of a sudden bars and restaurants, can't promote music, that part of their business that they made money off of because they were selling tickets at the door, they can't do. They're not allowed to do because it's a law now, which just seems ridiculous to me. And it's those kinds of things that we have to advocate for. I think the National Independent Venue Association has really stepped up in a big way. Their website is saveourstages.com. You can go to the Cultural Advocacy Network of Michigan. It's just canmichigan.org and read more about what we're doing there and get involved. We're setting up meetings with state legislators where you can directly have conversations with them. So in those ways, as individuals and even as a representative of your organization, you can get involved and you can advocate.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. Those are two great opportunities if people are looking to get involved. Yeah, wonderful. And you're doing so much advocacy work. It's awesome, and I'm so happy to have gotten to know you over the last few years and serve on the Michigan Presenters Board with you. It's been a joy.
Yeah.
We've had the opportunity to visit each other's venues, which is great.
That's right.
Back in the day,
Great.
Yep. And hopefully again soon.
Yeah.
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 In the meantime, we're just going to continue to come up with new ways to keep people engaged. And so along with any advocacy that you may decide to do, direct donations to your venues are always appreciated. That helps
Absolutely.
them stay afloat in the immediate term. And of course, if they're doing any type of programming, especially if it has a ticket or a donation option, then these are things that will help keep your favorite venues afloat over the next year.
Totally.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add before we sign off?
I just want to say that, I definitely feel what everyone's feeling. I was telling you before we started this call, you know, we were lucky to have the opportunity to reopen, you know, and since we learned about that in June, it's taken us until now, so I guess, you know, almost 2 months to really start feeling like our head is above water here. And I guess, you know, my advice to anybody who's still shut down, who, you know, may be looking at a reopening anytime soon, you know, I know there's a lot of unknowns, but I would just say, like, start planning now on what that reopening is going to be like. You know, don't wait until you get the word, you know, from the governor, because it really, to restart, it takes so much effort. So I would just, you know, say that as a, you know, as, you know, just going through that hopefully that'll make it a little easier for you, knowing that in advance.
Yeah, regardless of your industry, no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, anybody really.
Plan ahead. Yeah.
Start planning now and think about what that looks like, and get all the stuff that you need for your location, for, you know, your PPE and your hand sanitizers and all that stuff. Like, just get it all in order and just be ready, because I know it's just going to feel like, you know, you're at a racetrack and it's like, go. And if you're not going full throttle, you're going to get, you know, way behind, and you'll feel it. So, yeah, just best of luck to everybody. We're going to hang in there and help each other out as much as possible. And, yeah, I appreciate you having me today to just kind of share my thoughts. And, yeah.
Of course. Thank you. Yeah, we'll get through it together.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Well, I'll talk to you later, Xavier. Good to see you again. Thank you.
Yeah. See ya.